Then we can talk about how we overcome our approach anxiety every night and what we do.
What approach anxiety?
We have approach anxiety, our confessions.
Exposing ourselves.
Yeah. Pussies. Yeah. Eat your hearts out.
Yo, bitch, I got some buzzers clawing on my fucking stomach.
The first Austin Bootcamp sold out so fast that I couldn't meet demand. So for this month, I decided to do a second Austin Bootcamp. You will be going out 6 hours a day with one of the world's greatest dating coaches. I've worked with multiple companies, been in the industry now for 11 years, and you'll get coaching from me 6 hours a day. The girls in Austin are gorgeous, 6th Street is incredible, payment plans are available. If you are interested, text 702-841-9909, and I look forward to hearing from you. Here's the thing, I think a lot of people will look at something in our industry and think that we have it all figured out, that we have this innate ability to just always be on point. And I'm not gonna lie, we are a lot better at this than other people in terms of approach anxiety. We probably have a lot less, but we do this all the fucking time. So naturally, it's a lot easier than it was 11 years ago for me. Same thing as it was for you. You
No,
actually,
it's even harder now.
yeah.
I shake at the thought of talking to a girl. Oh my god. She
Trauma.
might not like me.
Beta.
Exactly.
Beta. So
What if she doesn't like me? What then? What does that mean about me? I'm done.
sometimes we'll go out, and sometimes I will have to. Well, we have to warm up every time we go out. Almost. We have to baby
If
step
it's
away.
been a while.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Not if I'm going out consistently now, but if I haven't gone out in a while, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have to warm ourselves up, and we know how to get ourselves there, which I think is the difference, though. I think a lot of people with approach anxiety, they don't know how to get themselves there. I mean, there is macro momentum and micro momentum, but even then, I'm naturally extremely fucking shy. I'm naturally a shy person. And so by me going out and working on this day after day and putting myself out there and practicing my extroverted actions, making sure that I am not allowing myself to be shy in everyday life even.
So what are examples of extroverted actions?
Eye contact, deciding that if I'm in an Uber, instead of me just sitting there quietly, I'm gonna make conversation with the guy. Maybe I'm putting
And get my star rating lowered if it's my Uber because you say
yeah.
so many offensive things.
I'm warming up, but I'm trying to risk offending in the wrong times, I think. Yeah, but I'm doing it playful way. They always laugh. They always think it's funny. Yeah, so Action Feeds Ego, they laughed, and even if they didn't like the joke, they still laughed, so they backwards rationalized. They must have loved my joke. Yeah. So it's too late. They're still going to give you a good star rating, or else they have to go through ego death to give you a 1-star review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That was
Psychology.
elaborate. That was very elaborate.
I had that shit. We went to Tao, and I was having crippling approach anxiety. I was having a hard time. You were warming up really well though. You got really properly warmed up, and you started knocking them out. You did really good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we walked. See, but I made a mistake because I was like, I've been crushing it for 2 weeks. I don't need to warm up. I'm just gonna walk to the club, and I didn't warm up for probably about the half hour to 45-minute walk it took to get us to Tao. And then by the time we get there, I'm like, it's so crazy here. All these girls are so hot. Oh my god, all these guys are ripped and tall and shit. And I'm like this flabby fuck, I'm this fat guy who's just walking through all these great god men, and I'm like, oh no, I can't say hi. Which you gotta action feeds ego. It's about the micro momentum. It's not about the fact that you get yourself into, how do I put it? All right, so there's certain laws that are immutable in terms of getting yourself out of being in anti-momentum. And what they are is taking the smallest integer of a baby step.
What is anti-momentum? Because not everyone's going to be familiar with
That's a fair point. Anti-momentum is basically, so you have a personality or a way of being that you think is probably innate to you, or you think is genetic. It's not. Actions that you take lead to the person you think you are. And the person you think you are leads to your actions. So what you do is when you go to a club and you want to become something different, you feel shy, you have to start ripping the lawnmower cord. Words. So when you start ripping the cord, essentially you start, at first the engine might not turn over. And then, keep doing that actually, not touching. You're gonna blow out the mic. So every time you fucking rip the cord, and you're it's a small integer of an action. It doesn't have to be something big. A lot of guys, I think, when they get to the club, they think it has to be I have to go approach a girl, get her to like me, and I have to pull her home, or else I'm shit. Dude, all we do is we compliment people, or we'll fuck around, or we'll tease, or we'll I'll even walk up to couples and be like, you guys make a cute couple. I'll approach guys and befriend guys. I'll walk by somebody, and I'll just be like, love your dress. And I'll just keep moving. I do what I need to do, get myself in that headspace, and every single time I make the action, I add a little bit extra. So the action taken the night starts slowly telling my brain, maybe in this environment, I'm somebody different. And then as I keep ripping the cord, eventually my brain's like, oh, maybe I am this person. And now the more you do this consistently over time, over the course of weeks, months, years, you keep ripping that cord consistently, your brain has used to you developing this new character in your brain, this new subsect of a personality. And then what happens is now, because you have this new subsect that you've built, it's a lot easier to build momentum and get out of that approach anxiety headspace every time you go out. It gets easier. And sometimes
Neurons that fire together, wire together is the quote. So if you...
I never heard this.
Yeah, so if you go to a club, every time you go out and you do build momentum, start doing approaches, those neurons in a certain area fire.
Yeah.
And then it wires, like every time you do that, it gets encoded more into your brain that that's who I am. That's the person I am. So when I do this, it's natural for me to approach, right? So eventually it becomes a part of your actual neuronal structure.
All right, what's a quote? That's a really good quote.
Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Wire together. Okay, that's nice. Yeah. I think about it like, so Owen originally said that there's like multiple personalities in your head. And
for him, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, for him. So the way that I think about it is that you're developing and you're rewiring a new part or a new subsect of your brain. And by you consistently doing this over a long time, that is called macro momentum. Micro is what you do in a single night out. Macro is what you do over a long period of time consistently. And extroverted actions is a way that I build macro momentum. It's how I build micro momentum. Macro momentum, I when you go back to work, you go out and game. And you decide you're going to go out and game like one day out of the week. But the rest of the time, you're a computer designer, you sit at your laptop and you hunch over your thing and you don't give anybody eye contact. Then you have to, like, one day out of the week, decide, I'm going to be really extroverted. How hard is that? You're telling yourself for 6 days out of the week, I'm an introvert. Then you have to start ripping the cord when you go to the club. You have built up 6 days of micro momentum that you now have to undo with 1 day, with an hour out.
Negative momentum.
Yeah, negative momentum.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of if you don't work out.
Yeah.
And you decide, you know what, I want to get shredded, I want to get jacked.
Yeah.
Then women will approach me, so I'm going to do that to avoid approaching. So when you have that thought, it doesn't work, but oh well.
No.
So you go to the gym, and you're like, you know what, I want to get big, so I'm going to have to lift heavy. So I'm going to lift 250, and you try to bench 250. And it falls on your chest and you die. That's what would happen. You wouldn't even be able to get it up, right? That could be taken out of context. But you won't even be able to lift it at all. And it's just overwhelming. So what should you do? You start with something that is based on your level of experience, your level of momentum, what you can actually do.
Yeah.
It's easier to see that with the gym because it's physical, but it's the same with something emotional, like whether it's starting a business, starting a YouTube channel, writing a book, or approaching women. If you've had years of not working out, your arms are flabby. If you've had years of not approaching women, you don't have the social willpower to go straight into it. And so you want to warm up and start with something a little bit easier and build up from that.
Yeah, I've had so many times where I'll backwards rationalize not doing it, or I try to bite off more than I can take. I'll say, hey, I need to approach her and tell her that I like her, and then try to continue a conversation. And I'm building all this extra shit on top of it. Like, instead of me just doing the first piece, which would get me the ball rolling, instead I had to do not just the first piece, but I had to do everything fucking else. I try to pull this very first girl I approach home when I'm in my head. So then what I do, I piecemeal it. I approach and I just do the first piece. And then after I get really comfortable with the first piece, then I add the second piece, and then the third, and then I'm doing the entire fucking thing. And eventually, my ego, that personality, pops into place. And now I'm like, I am this guy now. And now it's a lot easier for me to approach.
Dr. Jekyll goes away, Mr. Hyde comes in.
Yeah. That little pussy in my head, it goes away, and he goes and hides back in his little corner when Daddy comes out to play. I like that one. I like that way too much. Yeah, I was really proud of that line.
No comment.
No, you heard that shit? He's really bad when he shoots live. When he does all these videos where he doesn't have to cut him up all the time.
True.
Well, it's a lot more cancelable for sure. It's probably why I should continue.
It's going to happen eventually. Let's just, why fight it? Okay, so the different personality comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You come out of the closet, as it were.
Yeah.
And then...
Sorry, I was thinking about something else now, which I shouldn't even be talking about. So essentially, the biggest thing with a lot of you guys is that you guys add too much shit on top of this stuff. A lot of you guys that have that initial upfront issue, this is my advice to you. I would say don't approach to make a girl like you. Approach to make a friend. Or approach to work on your charisma. You will get the girl in front of you no matter what. If you work on your charisma, every time you go out and you're adding some new shit to your game, to your personality, to your way of being, you will get that girl one day or another. If it's only a 1% difference in your abilities, in your experiences, and your strengths, and your sense of who you are, then eventually you will get that girl. So what does it matter if you get her now, a week from now, a month, a year? It's irrelevant. You're not on a time limit. Like, I think guys like think they're on like this like a way more finite time limit. It's a lot more vast, and there's a lot more time than guys realize. Women like older guys. You have so much time. Take your time. Love being in the moment. Work on your charisma. You don't need her now. And by taking the pressure off, now you're actually raising the chances of getting her now. Because you put so much pressure on getting her now, you don't even approach her. And if you do approach her, you're putting pressure on it working, which makes her not like you. So take the pressure off by doing these two simple tricks. For me, that works.
Yeah, so that's basically the foot in the door technique, maybe stepping into it. You can also do the door in foot. It's the opposite. Door and foot. It's like the opposite of foot in the door. Both are sales techniques, and they apply to this. This works for me. It won't work for everyone, so one of these may work better for you. The other thing I would do to get over approach anxiety is the first second I got into the club, I would go up to the hottest girl I could find, even if she was with a guy, even if she's clearly with her boyfriend, even if she's dancing with a guy, and I go up and say, hey, want to make out? And it almost never worked. But after I did that, there was nothing to fear. There was no approach anxiety, and I would always have a really good night after I pushed myself that far. Now, it depends on your personality. Some people will need to ease in slowly, but some people will be able to just, be like, they'll be too resistant to that and can just bite it off at once. And it depends on, I believe, whether you're the hammer,
butter knife. Yeah, there's
hammer or the butter knife.
Or hammer or bulldozer. I go with both, but they're both the same thing. Yeah, it's a type of personality. If you're a bulldozer, this entire video might not be for you. You probably need to learn more empathy. But the majority of guys, like 90% of guys, are butter knives, which are more empathetic people. Empathetic people are more
pussies who don't get laid. Empathetic bitches.
we have approach anxiety, so it's probably us, unfortunately. But I'll put it this way: if you're a butter knife, your problem is that you are too empathetic, and you recognize when girls don't like you, and it hurts, and you feel the rejection. A hammer doesn't recognize that and looks at people like objects, almost like a sociopath.
It's like, why is she looking scared?
Or he's just
I don't
autistic.
know. Why is
he just like,
why is she running away?
Yeah. He's like beating his head against the wall, looking at the girl like a Rubik's Cube and not trying to connect with her as a person. He lacks.
You don't think women are like Rubik's Cubes?
All right, this actually is a thing with butter knives too. So this is not just strictly dickly, the whole hammer.
Did you say bulldozer. Strictly dickly?
I said on purpose. The hammers and bulldozer types, to me, I think that they usually have this problem more than butter knives, but they think they don't have emotions. A lot of guys, they're like, if I were to ask you, how do you feel right now while you're watching this video? You'll be like, I don't feel anything. Yes, you do. You just have no sense of how you're feeling. And here's the thing, emotions are contagious. Hammers can't pick that shit up. Hammers are just like constantly just in a place of not understanding emotions. So they might be logically intelligent, but emotionally, they're just off the charts, just like stupid. Their IQ is like a 1.
So there is one other method for getting over approach anxiety that is the fastest and most effective.
Yeah.
But few people will actually do it. Do you have any idea what that might be?
Shock in the system. Forcing it. That sounded bad.
Yeah, that could be taken out of context.
Actually, what do we usually do whenever we're like, I'm trying to think of some strategies that we've used in the past that have been really effective.
So here's what it is. Get in-person coaching. That's the fastest way to get over approach anxiety. Because I've had clients, actually one of my clients last week, they had never approached a girl in their entire life, ever. Not one at all. And then on the first day, I took them through this process, and if they had done it on their own, they had tried it on their own, not been able to do it.
You're so right.
But the fact that you have external leverage, that you've invested financially, you've probably traveled to meet the coach, you've been watching their videos, so you have a greater level of respect for what they have to say, right? You don't want to disappoint them. All that combines to give you so much leverage to approach that even if you've never done it before in your life, you're going to start approaching.
Piece of this that I think you missed, but is also extremely crucial. You become those you hang around. And when you get on a boot camp, you are hanging around people that just do this shit where it's normal and it's not weird. And when you do that, you get a part of a culture. And when you're part of a culture, so let's say you're doing MMA, you want to get really good at it, you hang around guys that fight. You want to become really good at business, you hang around people to do business. By hanging around people that approach, that it's just effortless for, or they love doing it, and they get excited to go out and game, you start becoming excited.
It becomes normal in your mind.
You start getting little pieces you missed before. Maybe you're hanging around guys that are all shy. Maybe hang around guys that are engineers, who are computer nerds, who are this or that, but they're not pickup nerds. So they don't have the right mindsets and beliefs that allow them to take the actions they need to take. But being around guys that do have this in place, you start adopting their mindsets, beliefs, you start slowly becoming like them in certain ways, especially in terms of game. One,
Subscribe!
Or don't.
Bitch, I got some